Well, good evening and welcome to Nashville. I'm Alan Jackson. 2001 seems like a long time ago, but there are few moments in the country's history where one day brings back such deep memories. And yet this many years later, 40% of the 3,000 people who died that day, they still remain unidentified. Despite all that was recovered from the site, for those families there's still nothing but memories. No wedding band, no wallet, and no trace of their human remains. It's painstaking work to try to find a match, yet the very dedicated team at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office, they continue its work. And the head of that office says that they will not stop until every family member has a match, regardless of how many years it takes. Well, it's that type of dedication and love of family that launched the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as well. As you all surely know, firefighter Stephen Siller lost his life that day as he was trying to help others out of the Twin Towers. Stephen was the youngest of 7, and it was his older brother Frank who decided to turn his loss into a national program that's been a truly remarkable success. With that, I want to welcome back the chairman and CEO of Tunnel to Towers, Frank Siller. It's very nice to see you again, sir.
Nice to be on, and your introduction about how many people were not recovered, strikes a chord with me for sure. Actually, a pain in my heart because my brother was never recovered. But we know where he's buried. We know where his soul is, and what he did that day. So, that's why we look at Ground Zero as very sacred ground.
Well, first of all, congratulations. 20 plus years later, the accomplishments of T2T, they keep mounting. And I want to start by telling our viewers just how well run your organization is. You've raised a lot of money for a lot of people, and 93% of it has gone directly to the programs they support. Plain language, that means for every $11 people give, more than 10 of it goes directly to the first responder families and veterans. Surely that type of streamlined management of donations attracts even more giving. At least I hope it does, doesn't it?
It does. Look, this foundation's called Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation. And it bears my brother's image and his name, and we're going to hold it to the higher standards, and which we have from its inception. We're proud of the work that we're doing, but we're very proud of the fact that we take somebody's donation and we make sure it goes to these great heroes. And it's you could see the results. You could see all these houses that we pay off, all these mortgage payoffs, all these smart homes that we build, and the amount of homeless veterans that we're taking care of, that the money is well spent. So when somebody donates $11 a month, t2t.org, they should know that it is going to the right cause.
Well, we've got veterans from the wars in Afghanistan, Vietnam, Korea, and even some from World War II who are still with us. Some were treated as heroes, and others not so much, especially those who served in Vietnam. In addition to paying off mortgages, you've expanded your efforts by putting up veterans' villages. Can you tell us about how those work?
Well, yes. So we either buy property or property is donated to us. I like that better, by the way, when property is donated to us. We're doing one in Land O'Lakes, Florida, where we're building 100 homes. It's for either catastrophic needs, a service member, a first responder, Gold Star family whose loved ones died for us and left the young families behind, or a fallen first responder family that gave his life up for us and has a young family left behind. And these villages are incredible because what it does is it brings all these families together that have had the same pain, the same loss. And, all these children understand what these other children are going through. The widows understand what these other widows are going through. And together they come together and they help each other through these darkest moments and come out the other side. And there's going to be a lot of love stories out of that as well, with these kids growing up with these other children. I guarantee you that many of them will end up getting married with each other because, once again, they shared the same loss.
Well, President Trump is also focusing on the veterans. Here's the head of Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins, as he addressed the issue while talking to the president at one of the cabinet meetings.
And over the past few years, they've been coming home to many times a government that was keeping them back, holding them back, taxing them, regulating them. And now we have veterans who represent the bill, the big, beautiful bill, they're the beneficiaries of. And I get to see them all the time because they're receiving the benefit because they see the jobs, they see the care that they're being given. And these veterans can look at their country with pride, knowing that we're taking care of them, just like you told me to do. When your only statement you said to me, I asked you what to do, you said, go take care of my veterans. Well, that's what we're doing.
You know, I love how he said that he wants the veterans to look at their country with pride. What are you seeing with the vets?
Well, you know, first of all, I sat with Secretary Collins myself, and we talked about the homeless veteran problem. And you know, the President Trump, while he was running for office, he said that he wants to eradicate homelessness amongst the veterans. The exact words that I use all the time, and that's a strong word, but that's bold, and we have to be bold because none of these guys deserve to be, or women deserve to be on the street. They went to serve us, and they came back different. You know, for obvious reasons. You know, you go to war, you see some things that you and I, you know, at least I never, saw in my life. So, you know, America, the greatest country that's ever existed, we better make sure that we take care of them. And Secretary Turner from HUD as well has made a promise to help Tunnel to Towers in accomplishing this goal to eradicate homelessness amongst the veterans. So, but Doug Collins, he's a great man. We had a great meeting with him, and I'm soon to meet with Secretary Hegseth, he's on board. I spoke to, I've known Pete Hegseth for quite a while, and he wants. I met him when I was with General Petraeus at an event where Petraeus was being receiving an award that I received a year earlier, and I told both of them how I was gonna, not how me personally, but the foundation was gonna eradicate homelessness amongst the veterans. And Pete said, Frank, I think you could do it. And I said, I can, but I need people to join us, and they certainly are. And the president is on top of that list.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to talk about your work with first responders as well. But before we take a short break, I've seen some big name partners in your TV appearances. It's an impressive group. Tell us what inspired these celebrities to join your efforts.
Well, because what we're doing, and they see the results. When we're doing over 200, mortgage-free homes a year to these great heroes, once again, they're not afraid to come and join us. People don't want to lend their name to something that's iffy, but because we're so strong at what we do, Mark Wahlberg several years ago said, Frank, I'll do one of those PSAs for you. And then others have followed, so many others have followed. And recently I just did one with Sylvester Stallone, which was, I was laughing so much because he's such a personality. You have Rocky walk in the room and do his, his strut in there. And he says, Frank, thank you, for the work that you do for our veterans and our first responders. And he's asked everybody to donate $11 a month. People listen. So they have a great platform to help Tunnel to Towers, and they want to share that with us, and they want to come and help us take care of these heroes. And I'm just very grateful.
Well, Frank, will you stay with us for another segment?
Sure. My pleasure, sir.
During the break, you can help this ongoing mission by going to t2t.org. You can learn more about all the various programs. We'll be right back after a quick break. I'd like to extend a personal invitation to join us for our Culture and Christianity Conference. It's September the 19th and 20th on our campus here at World Outreach Church, just outside of Nashville. We've chosen 3 specific topics to explore with a wonderful group of guests. We're going to talk about the church and our expected impact in this culture, the media and their impact in our culture, and then finally, our health, how we can be healthy in the midst of all these competing voices we're hearing. The real goal is how we take our faith and integrate it in our world so we have better lives, stronger families, and strengthen our nation. Join us for Culture and Christianity here in Murfreesboro. We're back now with Frank Siller, the chairman and CEO of Tunnels to Towers. Frank, please share your most up-to-date numbers on the mortgages you've paid off and how many people you've rescued from the fear of losing their homes.
Well, I'm going to say that by the end of 2026, because that'll be the 25th anniversary, our goal, which we're going to surpass, is over 2,000 mortgage-free homes that we've either built or paid off their mortgages. And that's a big number. You know what your mortgage is, times that times 2,000. And you can imagine the amount of money that we've had to raise to do that. But it goes far beyond that. With the homeless veteran program, by the end of 2026, we'll have over 25,000 homeless veterans off the street. And we do it in a way that, I was talking before about these villages that we do, for fallen first responders, Gold Star families, and catastrophically injured service members. But now I'm building these villages for homeless veterans. And we're doing it all over the United States. As we speak here, almost on the 24th anniversary of 9/11, we have over 20 locations, hotels that we've bought, that we've purchased, and that we're renovating into apartments. These are apartments that these great heroes can get back some dignity in their life, some hope in their life, and be around other heroes that served our country. These are permanent housing. These are not shelters, where you line up 100 people in a large room. No, these are their own individual shower, TV, bed, and kitchen. A place that I would go stay. I would go live in a place that you would stay and live as well, Alan, because I'm not going to put any of these heroes in any place other than something where I would live. So we're so proud of the work that we're doing, and but there's so much more work to do. So we put them in this temporary housing, but we have case managers where we work with over 1,200 not-for-profits around the country that work in the homeless veteran arena in that field. And when they locate a homeless veteran that needs the help, that maybe been living out of their car or just going into homelessness, we help that. We pay their first month's rent, the security, the last month's rent, and we buy the furniture to furnish their apartment. We go in, we paint it, we do all that, and we take that family. And a lot of times it's a family. It's not just the individual. Sometimes the family living out of a car or on the street. And we put them in these hotels. So they're not even counted as homeless vets because they weren't on the street for 6 months or a year. But we stop the bleeding on that end, and then we take care of the permanent housing on the other end, and we're going to close it together. And when we're done close together, this is what you get. Our prayers will be answered.
Amen. Well, as you know, President Trump has moved the wheels of government in a similar direction, trying to make sure veterans don't lose their homes as well. Listen to what he said about what the government is doing to handle it through a new bill that was passed.
An estimated 61,000 American veterans are in danger of losing their homes, as you know. But thanks to this bill, the Department of Veterans Affairs will be empowered to pay loan holders the necessary amount to prevent foreclosures on our veterans, so our veterans won't be foreclosed and put out onto the streets.
Well, he made those remarks while he was signing the VA Home Loan Reform Act. So between what you're already doing and this new effort from Washington, the vets should be in a much better place very soon. That's a big change for them. Am I right?
100%. And that, in that one act, in that one signing, that is just what I was talking about, is stop the bleeding. Why wait till they're on the street for 6 months or a year before you go to try to help them? It's already so late to do that. So if he could be prevented, it's exactly what the president is doing in the VA and HUD. HUD is a big part of this with the HUD vouchers. It is incredible what can be accomplished. So it's such a big step in the right direction. But even with that, there's so many that are on the street that we need to get into these homeless veteran villages that we're building. And that's where we step in and take on that role. Nobody else is doing it like we're doing it in America because it is so big. It's such a problem. And you need to raise a lot of money to do it. But you know what, Alan? I trust, of course, the man upstairs, because he knows that America is so good, so kind, and so generous that, $11 a month is not asking much for people to help us to join on this mission. And they could hear the updates already because last year we were at 7,000. Now we're up to, 15,000 homeless vets. And I told you by the end of next year, at least 25,000 homeless veterans off the street. So, it is working. It is working. But the $11 a month is instrumental. Yes, we count on big businesses, Home Depot, General Motors, American Express, T-Mobile, and some of these, Mohawk, and some of these other great companies that have helped us. But it's $11 a month where we bring millions of people together to get this accomplished.
You have so much going on. You're now taking care of families that lost a loved one from post 9/11 injuries. A lot of people were exposed to a lot of dangerous substances. Already more than 2,900 people have died of cancer-related issues. 1,900 more have died from respiratory diseases, and more than 1,000 have died where the cause is listed as mental health, most often just meaning that they have taken their own lives from PTSD or depression or some anxiety-related suicide. Together, that's double the number of people who died on that day. Can you tell us what you're providing for others who are struggling through one of these issues?
So we're a first responder military foundation. So if you're a first responder and you die of 9/11 illness, and there's many of them, as you were just talking about some of them, and you have a family, and we do focus on young families, but some years have gone by, so maybe a little bit older than like a 7-year-old, or 8-year-old, or a 12-year-old, that we will pay off your mortgage, just like we do for, like, if you die in the line of duty. If someone gets a police officer, I'm calling, when I get off the phone with you, I'm calling a widow up to tell her that we're going to be paying off her mortgage. As soon as I get off this interview, the last 2 weeks, 10 calls I made to widows to let them know the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is going to be there, that their kids could stay in the house where they were making their dreams come true with their father, who's now gone, or their mother in some instances, but most of the time is their father. So it's incredible. But these 9/11 illnesses, you're right, more have passed away from 9/11 illnesses than they did on 9/11. It's the terrorist attack that keeps on taking lives, and it's painful when it happens. But the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is not forgetting. Our first mission is to never forget. And how do you never forget? Is by doing good. And doing good is certainly what we're doing.
Well, Frank Siller, thank you for spending time with us today. You're an inspiration. And Tunnels to Towers, it's important. If you want to know more about them, it's t2t.org. It's easy to remember, and it's worth an investment of your time. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. God bless.
When we come back, the hope that's there for all of us. And later, your emails. We love hearing from you. We'll be right back. Hey, I want to give you a personal invitation to join my podcast, Culture and Christianity.
For a person to think that the Bible is not political, you don't know the Bible.
We're trying to understand how to take our faith outside the walls of the church and live it out in the marketplace.
He will show you what to do, whether it's in our communities, in our country, or other places in the world.
So I brought in some friends, some people that are trying to do this.
How could anyone call themselves Christian and be pro-choice? Is beyond my comprehension.
But I think he wanted them open and in need of him every day.
We have been living through a season of unprecedented deception, propaganda, manipulation.
Everybody says, oh, Israel is attacking schools in the Gaza Strip.
I want to be a part of seeing culture and Christianity intersect. Hope you enjoy the podcast. As we near the anniversary of 9/11, it's appropriate to stop and thank God that He's kept us so that we can remember those that have made sacrifices for our freedoms. Freedom is not cheap, and it certainly isn't free. We have a whole generation that don't have any memory of that day. You know, I remember watching the visual images of those men and women that ran towards danger at a great personal sacrifice, really with very little awareness of what the implications could be for themselves and certainly for their families. They ran towards trouble. They were honored for their bravery. Well, how quickly things have changed to where our first responders are now derided in public. Even mayors of major cities are pushing for the role of law enforcement to be diminished, defunded, and set aside. There's hatred directed at them. Well, there's a temptation to step back into our church sanctuaries or step back into the sanctuary of our home while we ignore what's happening in the world around us. I don't believe it'll go well with us if we do that. Freedom has to be defended, watched over, cared for. It's not a right, nor is it just a privilege. It will only extend from generation to generation if the generation who currently experience it care enough about it to hand it intact to the generation who follows us. If we're distracted through our own selfish pursuits, we can very easily fumble our freedoms. History is filled with examples of that. We as the church need to be awake. We need to pay attention. We need to step closer to the Lord because He is ultimately the solution to our challenges. If we'll do that, I promise you, there's more reasons for hope than despair. We'll be right back with your emails. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us today. If you ever miss a live episode, just a reminder, you can go to ajnow.com. There's a full archive there. You can see any program, watch them at your leisure, maybe share them with a friend. And thank you for your emails. They're always a highlight. Richard J. from Bellingham, Washington said the story of how God answered your mom's prayer when she didn't know Him or know much about spiritual matters, and then she lived to become a Christian and guide her sons into how they could have a relationship with Him. It seems to totally blow the cessationist viewpoint completely out of the water. God very much remains in the miracle business today, more than ever. Well, Richard, you're right. You know, I meet people all the time who say they don't believe God does miracles. I don't have to have the debate. I'm the beneficiary of one of those miracles. God is moving in the earth, and I want to be a part of that. Michael Smith from Oklahoma commented on a past episode, having the Kyle family on your show should be very encouraging to other families in a similar situation and to all Christians. Your show is my favorite show to watch. Well, Michael, I think you are a wise man, and I hope your wisdom is contagious. Thanks for sharing. Linda emailed, just a note to say thank you for the research and response. May the Lord richly and wonderfully bless you and your entire team at the ministry as you continue reaching out to the world with your messages. Well, Linda, you're discerning. There's a whole team of people who help us produce not only this show, but all the various aspects of the ministry. Without each one of them doing their part, none of this is possible. And those of you that watch, you're an important part of this too. Your emails, your encouragement, your notes, they make all this happen, and we thank you for it. I'm Alan Jackson, and I pray you have a wonderful evening.